Pinky, we have reached this point where, after having reflected on 2024, shared stories, let's share our own outlooks as far as 2025 is concerned, the coming year. So, what do you see are some trends that will continue moving into 2025 in the area of people management?
Okay. I think one of the key priorities that organizations would have on people management is upskilling employees on AI. And like I said, emerging technologies. I think that's very important because we have to face the new world of work. Things are different now. So we need to get people embrace AI and responsible AI, as I also said earlier. That's one. And then I think the other thing that organizations are likely to do is focusing more on culture change. Maybe transitioning to a coaching culture. That's what I see.
Okay, basically when you talk about coaching cultures, these are learning cultures basically, isn't it? People accelerate their learning process. This is very much supportive of the innovation thrusts of many of the organizations that we've worked for. Because usually it's the performance muscle that's well grounded, but it's in the innovation sphere that they need to really work on. Because my favorite definition of innovation is ensuring future performance. So if you're not preparing for innovation, you're not ensuring your future performance. A lot of organizations sometimes are just concerned with the present performance. So that's good. So the coaching or even mentoring, development conversations are learning conversations. Help them to learn to be able to innovate more. I think the innovation is fueled by these kinds of conversations. Talking about trends, I see a trend of having more focus on the quality of conversations within teams. As organizations use more teams to get things done, I think the quality of these team conversations will be put on the spotlight.
How do you do that?
Meaning to say, because there are some conversations that are not productive. Let's face it. People are just arguing. Too much argumentation, position taking. That doesn't serve the purpose. I think one of the things that needs to happen on the conversation side in teams is to be able to develop that capability for co-creation, collaborative. Where there's real openness to new ideas, respect for differences of ideas or opinions, so that in the process you're able to synergize and create something new together. So I think that's where I see probably a little bit of a lens coming on what kind of quality conversations are these teams having, because the more I create these teams, the more I should be concerned with the quality of the conversation, because the quality of the conversation will dictate the quality of the performance of these teams.
I guess the quality of conversations would come from, people sharing with each other what their thoughts are, what their ideas are. And that's why I'm saying, I think the coaching culture is very important, because then you're empowering people, diba? So, you create opportunities for people to express their own thoughts, their own ideas on how to, let's say, meet the business challenges. Yeah, so I think I agree with you, quality of conversations that can be nurtured even more by, encouraging collaboration.
Yes. You mentioned leadership also. I think leadership will be a continuing concern. And I really think it will even become bigger in 2025, in the sense that probably we're looking at a leadership ecosystem. It's not just one training event, but it's a series of things that need to happen to really influence the capabilities or competencies of our leaders. Now, from assessment process to training to coaching, to assessment again, I think that kind of ecosystem will need to. So organizations will become more serious at looking at leadership development in a more holistic way, rather than just an event thing.
Yeah. Jerry, you've had that topic in earlier conversations that we've had. I personally think that leadership transformation is really key. because it's the leaders who drive, changes in the organization. It can't really work as well if it's bottom up. It really has to be the leaders driving it. Like I said, model the values, model the behaviors, be clear on the vision, get people engaged in what it is that you want to do.
That's
and
right.
get them involved. You, the leader, not the leader just saying, okay, let's do this. We all work on this together.
Yeah. That's why if we were to put a brand to the leadership part of the management leadership thing that we were talking about earlier, it's transformational leadership.
Yeah, transformational.
Because a lot of management work is really transactional types, exchange, you do this for me, I do this for you. But transformation goes beyond transaction. It talks about transforming organizations and transforming people.
Right.
I mean, that's what transformation is all about, and that's what leadership should be all about.
Well, speaking of trends in 2025, yes, I am sure that AI and learning how to use AI will be one of the features that we will do more of that. I'm sure coaching and creating a coaching culture will not go away. It's a long-term plan. It's a long-term endeavor. I hope some of the things that we've seen in 2024 will continue well into 2025 and beyond. And those things are sustainability, the progress we've made there, things like diversity and inclusion, and well-being. A student of mine recently reminded me of this saying, which everybody will be familiar with, that the difference between leadership and management is that management is about doing things right and leadership is about doing the right things. And that is so critical today to remind ourselves of as leaders, I think, that we have to stick to our values and our principles, regardless of whether or not it's the flavor of the month right now, or it's difficult, or it's easy, regardless. Because the essence of leadership is doing the right thing, even when it's not popular and it's not easy.
Talking about organizations preparing to invest in their people, what are some of your thoughts or ideas about how organizations can better prepare to invest in people in the coming year?
I think it's important for for organizations to understand what the employees need, okay? What the employees want. And meet them, like I said earlier, meet them where they are. Personalized employee experience. The employee as humans. You know what I mean? Human-centric leadership. So, yun.
Yes, and this is some tie-up with our earlier discussions about AI and humans. Because I think the focus of the training development should be on those unique human things, isn't it? Because it's useless to train people on things that the machines can take over anyway. I mean, I think we need to know the difference between the two so that we can really boost the human capability while the machine is boosting its own capability, so that the collaboration becomes ideal.
Yeah.
In terms of really getting greater things done.
Yeah. That's what we need to do better. Yeah.
Do you know all good organizations will want to invest in their people, right? And I did notice a trend in 2024 of organizations really doubling down on learning. Maybe, but perhaps previously they've had a good strategy, but maybe a little bit piecemeal, focused on certain areas. Now I see much more holistic strategies, identifying everyone's learning needs and catering for everyone's learning needs as well. And as Pinky says, not just training, but really learning in a broad sense. And it's easier now, actually. We're so used to using things online. For training, there are online platforms you can subscribe to, or you can create your own academies, your own learning platforms for your people internally. And that's easier now as well, because we can use AI tools to speed up that design process. So I think learning is definitely something that's being developed and becoming more holistic, and organizations are really seeing why learning and learning for the future and learning to develop our organizations in this changing world is so critical.
Okay, going to the advising role that we have. If we could give one advice to leaders so that they can become better transforming organizations, what would that advice be?
You know, I saw this in an article that I've read, no? And it really struck me. For leader transformation to happen, leaders have to unlearn in order to learn or relearn. You know, like new mindsets, new behaviors. Like for instance, you know, being open to the external world. You know, what's happening out there. Yours is not really the best, no? You can probably learn from others as well. And then what other behaviors need to be unlearned? Yeah, we've said this over and over again, no? Like, you know, you don't have all the knowledge. Your people have it as well. You give everybody opportunity to do that, no? To share, to give, to amplify their potential as well. It's only by encouraging that I think you know, organizations can prosper.
That's right. I think just building on what you're sharing is the fact that I think the leader should be comfortable with their vulnerabilities. The things that they don't know, they should admit they don't. You know, I think it's more dangerous to say you know and in fact you don't, just to prove your value or worth in the organization. I think if you're man enough, you know, and you stand by your principles, I think showing some vulnerability is going to work for you as a leader, because you can tell your people, hey guys, I don't know the answer to this problem we face. This is something new, but let me frame you some questions so that together we can get to the answers.
Right.
I think that's the kind of leadership response that we're
and that's
that we're
what
expecting.
builds trust.
That is what builds trust, precisely. Because I can see the humanity in you. You're human. You're admitting that. You're not hiding that. But at the same time, you know, you have a way of moving forward together with your team.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, siguro, is the need for flexibility. You know, like, well, maybe this relates to what I was saying earlier, you know, about being open. Where you think you can do better, then if there's a need to flex your practices, then maybe they should learn to let go. No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think the things you mention are also linked to empowerment and empowering others. Obviously, no one is always right, as Jerry mentioned. And as Pinky is saying, looking outside our own organizations or beyond to getting answers is always a good thing. And I think leaders can also encourage everyone to do that. So, like, everyone is engaged in finding new ideas, in finding better ways to do things. And it will help the organization as well as helping each individual person. You know, so many things we can learn. I was just reading an article in the last 1 or 2 weeks about it was actually called "What's the Secret to Denmark's Happy Work-Life Balance?" And the first point that was mentioned was at work, people not being micromanaged. And as long as people got their work done, achieved their projects, it was about that, not about how many hours they were actually at their desk or at work. And there was another very nice example that was given in that article about the Tivoli Gardens, which is, I don't know whether you've been to Denmark, but it's a very nice place to visit in Copenhagen. So it was mentioned that the people who work there, they have what they call the 3-meter radius rule. which is that you are the CEO of anything which is within a 3 meter radius of you, regardless of your position. So if you see something wrong, see something that needs fixing or improving, it's your responsibility to do that. And that gives people a sense of ownership over the space they're working in, which also makes them feel empowered and appreciated. They're trusted to go ahead and take the initiative to do things on their own when they see something that needs doing. And that in turn contributes to well-being, which, if you think about it, there's a strong link between all of those things: well-being, empowerment, and a sense of autonomy and appreciation. If you can build those, you are building a culture of well-being. Interestingly, the article ended with a comment that in Denmark, well-being and collective well-being is something that is actually prioritized. So I think, here's something that we can immediately learn from and take on board and focus in on how we can make our organizations more empowered.
Okay, let's talk about some practical steps. If there are 2 or 3 practical steps that leaders can take to position themselves well for 2025, what would those be for you?
What about you, Jerry? What comes to mind?
The first is really the self-awareness. I want to go back to that self thing, because I think unless leaders are able to conquer themselves, it's very hard to really go outward. No? So it's like leading from the inside out rather than from the outside in. So if leaders could spend more time trying to get to know themselves better, coaching could be one process for that. You're able to know yourself better, but there could be other ways. Self-reflection, feedback probably is another good way of, I think the leader must be sincere in trying to get enough data to know themselves well, so that they have the capacity to manage others when they deal with other people. Because a lot of the problems sometimes start from within, from within the leader himself, his values, his beliefs, his biases, his ego, gets in the way of getting the right things done. How about you, Pinky?
I think it's very important for leaders to understand what the business challenges are, okay? Current as well as future. And then prepare siguro, people to meet those challenges. But make sure that when we talk about training, it doesn't mean one-day training, as you pointed out earlier. It has to be an ongoing effort, siguro, to make sure that people are engaged, people are, parang given opportunities to contribute to whatever they need, the organization needs to meet whatever business challenges there are. So yun, how to do that? What can leaders do? First, siguro, as you said, learn new mindsets, build new mindsets about what they need to do for them to be more inspiring, to be more engaging. And then maybe, yung learning and development, I think that's very important, Giving people, fair opportunity to learn, to be more opportunities to build whatever skills, competencies are needed.
Yeah, if I may add, I think the ability to be sensitive to the environment is going to be very critical for leaders, so that they can be in touch with the signals for change. In a very uncertain world, I think organizations, if you're a transforming organization, should be quick to pivot depending on what comes your way. And these are things that are unpredictable. So I think staying connected with the environment is one thing that leaders should be able to work on, rather than isolate or focus themselves from within the organization. What's happening, like there's so many things happening in the political arena, in the social arena, and things like the technological arena, and that can impact the business. I think is one tip or one practical advice we can say to leaders, so that they can drive the organizations to success.
Yeah. Siguro recognition also that we live in really different times, no? Maybe to use a stronger adjective, turbulent times. So leaders have to be able to respond to that. And they should also recognize that, they can't do it alone. They have to
Yeah.
do it with people.
That's right.
One very practical thing a leader can do is to develop their coaching skills. And then, of course, use their coaching skills to support their people. And coaching is so empowering because if done correctly, it doesn't tell anyone what to do, it doesn't solve their problems for them, it helps them to solve their own problems. So hence it is empowering. It helps people to take ownership for what they need to do to solve their issues, to move forward in their lives and in their work. So if leaders can actually develop that skill and use it, then I think that is something that's very practical, easy to do, relatively easy to do. Not very easy to do, but definitely doable. And of course, HR leaders can really support this by having strategies, having campaigns even to promote a culture of coaching. And that will be also at the same time helping to create a culture of empowerment as well. So that key thing, I think, could go a long way in helping every organization to improve well into the future.
Yeah, talking about summing up a vision for 2025. If I ask you, what could be a vision statement for 2025 that can sum it all up, these discussions with them, what would that be?
Are you talking about investors and people?
Yeah, we're talking about people management in general. You want me to start? I'll start. I will choose the slogan, make work better.
Yeah.
I think that phrase, make work better, is captures it all. I think if we were to complete the sentence, make work better, so that you can build a great organization that can bring out the best in people. That is my own personal summary of a statement for 2025.
Actually, what I had in mind was working together to build excellent organizations. And
Yeah. That's
make work
perfect.
better is probably part of that.
Yeah, I think these are two good statements that we can sum up for 2025, moving to 2025.
I can't better your vision of make work better, Jerry. It pretty much says it all.
Okay, so this has been a very interesting conversation and inspiring conversation, Pinky. I'm glad we had this opportunity to converse and talk about this. I hope because of this conversation, we were able to inspire many of our audience to be able to gain from the insights that you've gotten from this conversation and probably join and be part of this growing movement of creating or building more awesome organizations for people to thrive and to succeed. So with this in mind, since this is our first year-ender podcast, we would like to tell our audience and thank all the organizations we've worked for, which we mentioned in our discussion earlier, because it is through them that we also learned these lessons as a result of their wonderful practices that we've discovered as we're interacting with them and assessing them. So we hope that this has been a very fruitful conversation for our audience as well. And we would like to definitely see you in our future podcasts. And thank you, everyone.